Just wondering if you have any update on Josh's status, his foot sprain, anything changed there?
Yeah, I'll go through Josh and then everyone else that's currently on the list, Heather, for everyone out there, just to get you guys up to date here. So today will be a walkthrough, first of all. So there's no real practice today. Mario Addison will not participate. Josh Allen will be limited. Cole Beasley will not participate. Both Mario and Cole are due to veteran rest. Jerry has a foot, will be limited. Tywan Jones will not participate with a knee. Starlo Tulay will be limited. Emmanuel Sanders will not participate with a knee. And then Tommy Sweeney will be limited. AJ Klein is also back today off the COVID list. And I believe we're got out on Tyrell Dodson's situation from a couple of days ago. So that should bring us up to speed.
And then with Josh's situation, obviously, his status for Sunday is still up in the air. How do you go about this week knowing that he is dealing with that? Do you give Mitch more snaps in practice? How do you go about that situation knowing that you don't know Josh's status for Sunday?
Yeah, so we just have to really take it one day at a time because number one, I'm not a doctor and I just rely on what Nate and our training staff gives me. And from a medical standpoint, and you're right, if Josh, because he's limited today, let's just use, today, Mitch is going to get those reps. So that's how we'll do it and proceed as we go through the week here.
And then just one more on Josh, Sean, where is his level? I know after the game, he said it was pretty sore. We saw him in the walking boot. Just, when you've had conversations with him, where is he from like a pain tolerance and, what have those conversations been like with him?
Yeah. He's working through it. He's a tough guy and, the soreness is still there and that's to be expected. So, I love his attitude. And I think that's key when you're trying to come off of any injury is the attitude and the mindset.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Hi, Sean. Adam Benini. Could you just go through more of the reasons why you guys decided to go walk through today? Yeah,
really. Primarily one reason, Adam, and that's off of the reps we got in the overtime game. Been through two close games, and the load on the players, and then the travel back from Tampa, I believe is one, if not the longest trip we've had this year. Making sure they're as rested as possible. We're still going to get some work in, which we want to do that. That's important, but also balance, making sure they're rested here too, as much as possible at the end of the season.
Is that something you consider more now that the season is 17 games long?
That's a factor, right? That's also a factor. And then, just looking at the road ahead, 4 games with, I think pretty much evenly spaced out games. This past one came off of a short week, so just, again, always trying to have a good sense for where the team is and what they need to get themselves ready to go here.
All right. And just to quell any speculation, there's speculation this morning. I think Derek addressed this, but there is zero, if I understand correctly, any COVID related issue associated with this whatsoever.
No.
Okay. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Sean Worrell.
Hey, John.
Just to kind of piggyback off of Adam's question, did you also take into account that, to give Josh to push to have a walkthrough today, did you give Josh one more day off his feet per se, in order to see, where he's at tomorrow?
Look, I'm always going to think of the overall team first, and certainly Josh is factored into that. So I just think what they need the most is to get themselves, another day of a shortened schedule here and get themselves back mentally, physically, and spiritually, and and still get work in and still have a normal flow of meetings from a mental standpoint and getting ourselves ready to go from a preparation standpoint.
Thank you. Not knowing Josh's status and with the possibility that Mitch might have to step in. This is what, you guys brought Mitch in for. What do you see from him and how capable is he of stepping in at such a crucial juncture to run the offense in potentially a temporary situation?
Yeah, you're right. That's why we brought Mitch in. He's more than capable. We have 100% confidence in Mitch to go out and execute at the level that we expect him to execute at, for us to play good football and winning football. And so there's no hesitation whatsoever there.
And lastly, for me, is it fair to say with how much time has passed and all the changes that have happened that maybe there's less personal significance to you in facing Carolina?
Yeah, listen, that's there's time that's passed, right? And certainly had a great experience there in Carolina, and the friendships, the relationships that we built down there will certainly last a lifetime. That said, that was one step on the journey, right? And very appreciative of that opportunity down there and the relationships that we made.
Thanks, Sean.
Morning, Sean. How are you?
Good, Sal. How are you?
I am good. Couple things for you. First of all, on Gabe Davis, I'm just wondering, as you've looked back across these past 13 games, do you think maybe you guys missed an opportunity to get him more involved than he has been really until Emmanuel got hurt the other night?
Well, Gabe's a productive player. You open up the season and you see what he did in the back of the end zone. I think in the touchdown we had, he made it, a contested catch. He also made a deep ball up the seam catch, I believe, in that game. So, we were aware of it from the start, and really not a whole lot different from last season, to be honest with you. So, so it's those are conversations that we've been having all the way through the season, and it was good to see him have the game that he had this past week.
Okay, and if I could switch over to the defense pass rush, I think Leslie said the other day that, honestly, with a 4-man rush, you probably haven't got the pressure that you would hope to be getting. What has to change there, Sean? You've got a lot of high draft picks in that particular position group. Do you feel that you need more production from the 4 guys that are pass rushing up front?
100%. Yeah. Yes. My answer is yes. And, that said, I also, you want to keep some level of patience because quite a few of those players are young. When you look at Greg Rousseau, who's starting for us at left defensive end, you look at AJ Epineza, a second-year player, Bogey Basham, a first-year player. Ed is still considered young overall in this league. So there's some youth there. And yet at the same time, it's such a critical part of a good defense is to be able to affect the quarterback with 4, stop the run and affect the quarterback with 4. That we got to continue to emphasize that, and it's been emphasized, I should say, but just it's got to show up, in particular more than it did this past week.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
Okay, good morning, Sean. I have 2 questions about Tremaine Edmunds. The first one is when a defense plays 2 deep coverages, obviously it's typically asking the middle linebacker to cover a lot of space. I don't know if your analytics experts measure that for you or not, but how do you think Tremaine performs in that role for you?
Well, I think like anything, there's some plays where he's done really well. There's some plays I'm sure he wants back, and that's a continuing effort to practice those areas and work with him on those areas to continue to grow.
And then, if you look at linebacker stats, again, in the media, we look at that's what we do, interceptions, passes, defense, tackles for loss, tackles, pressures, he suffers in comparison with Luke Kuechly. I don't know, do you think that's fair, or why don't we see more of those hands-on balls, tackles for losses from Tremaine?
Well, let me just kind of unpack that a little bit on the top layer of that is the Luke Kuechly comparison, I think would be unfair to most, if not all, linebackers that are out there. He's a once in a lifetime player. I can assure you that. But overall, middle linebacker is, he's in the mix. That's where he's positioned in the middle of the defense. And I think Tremaine does a really good job with handling our operation, play in and play out. And I think he's taken a step in that area this year. And those plays over the middle, those plays in the run game, pass game, what have you, he's going to continue to work his tail off to be productive in those areas. So there's obviously some work to do there, and we're confident that he'll continue to work on it.
Thank you, Sean.
Yep.
Hey, Sean, it's Kim from the parking lot. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Kim from the parking lot. Hi.
It's a miracle that we're making this happen, but I appreciate you. At 7-6, do you have concerns about execution or confidence? Is maybe one of those outweighing the other at this point?
Listen, when you're where you're at, the confidence, is obviously sometimes you question it. But I believe we've got an overall confident football team, and execution usually leads to confidence, Kim. And when you execute at a high level, you usually get the results you're looking for. Not always, but most of the time. So when you break it down, some of the inconsistent moments that we've had have really come down to execution, and that's there's a lot of things that go into that in terms of execution, right? And discipline is one of them. Rules in terms of who I block, what my rules are, where my eyes are, what my feet are doing. All those things lead to a high level of execution, which you got to be disciplined down in and down out. You got to 100% understand your job. You got to do your job, and that's where that trust comes in too, of everyone's 1/11th of the play being executed at the highest level possible.
And if I may briefly, Sean, Josh Allen about 1,000,000 times better than I. But in a crucial time of your season, it's hard to imagine him missing this game if there's even any chance he can get out there and be effective. Would you generally agree with that?
We'll see. We're always going to put a player's health first and foremost, Kim, and that's really where we start. So we just got to take it one day at a time, and we'll see where we're at tomorrow.
Thank you, Sean.
Good thing.
Hey, Sean, Josh Reed here. How are you today?
Good, Josh. How are you?
Good. Harrison Phillips, what have you seen from him in particular these last two games?
I think he's done an outstanding job. He really has. He's been one of our steadier players on defense, in particular up front. When you talk about technique, his technique is really fun to watch. He plays with great hands. He anticipates things by and through his preparation, and it's really just fun to watch the way he's been playing for our defense, and it matters to him as well. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of passion and care and investment in this football team, and much appreciated from Harrison.
Hey, Sean, I know you said that Cole Beasley is a Veterans Rest Day today, but I was just curious, the last stretch of games since his rib injury early November, just what have you seen out of him during that stretch, and how have you guys been using him? Yeah,
in particular in the second half of last week's game, Catherine, it was great to see him get involved and get into a rhythm. And the one play that there was a guy draped really over his back, and Josh threaded the needle with the ball, and Cole made a little bit of a run after a great catch, and then a run after catch. I mean, that's Cole Beasley. He's a tremendously instinctive player. When you look up the word football player in the dictionary, I mean, they should have a picture of Cole Beasley right next to him. I mean, that's who he is. I mean, he's a winner, tough. So I just love the fact of his involvement in our offense. And I think it's in a lot of ways much like a good tight end is to a quarterback. Cole Beasley is to our quarterback in terms of trust and a high level of execution.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, I was just curious, losing close games has been a theme this season that wasn't exactly the case last year. It was kind of the opposite record almost. Is there anything that has stood out to you about why, it's just worked out that way this year?
Yeah, I mean, if my math is right, if I remember, Elena, I think 4 of the 5 that have been 1-score games, we've had the ball with a chance to win it. And really offensive football in this case, when you're talking about execution, really is what it comes down to. And, just this past week in particular, just to name one, we had chances. And so that's an area we're working on. I remain confident in those guys and Coach Daves to continue to put the guys in position. And then we've got to get the execution level higher in those moments. But I really love the drives we put together with the ball in those situations. And now we got to finish those drives. And I look forward to watching that in the coming weeks. Very confident in those guys.